Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel Murder, Mystery and Massacre, and this is where I have created a series of podcasts where I discuss true crime cases from murder through to terrorism, and I look at both solved and unsolved cases. So before I get started with this one, I just want to give a small content warning. There isn't much in the way of content that is distressing, but we are talking about a child that has gone missing and was never found, and that may be hearing testimonies and hearing generally what happened could be distressing to some. So if that's upsetting for you, obviously please do switch off and look after yourselves, and we will hopefully see you on our next podcast. And any of the information I'm discussing here is something that I've either seen researched online, or I've heard interviews that I'm sharing, and this is just for information and educational purposes only, never intending to upset anyone who may have had a relation to the case, who may have been family members or friends, just for as respectful as we can to share the information. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel After Dark Coffee and Crime. Now if you've been here a little while and you've seen some of my previous content, you'll see that I have had a name change, and the reason that I've had a name change is that I have been working on my channel and recording backlogs of podcasts so that I can consistently give them to you. So if I'm sick, I've got content ready to go out anyway, and I decided halfway through I'd change my name. However, the theme of the channel is going to continue to be murder, mystery and massacre, because I do cover a variety of different crimes, from murder right through to acts of terrorism. And so we'll press on now to the case that I'm going to look at today. And so the case that I'm going to be talking about today is of an unsolved case of a little 7-year-old boy called Daniel Entwistle, who went missing from his home on Saturday the 3rd of May in 2003, which happened to be a bank holiday weekend. So as with everything, before I get started, I'd just like to give my content warning. Although there isn't that much anything that's sort of nasty and graphic, I still like to give a content warning because it is a child. He did go missing, and that can be that can be a trigger for some people, especially if they have been in that situation or they have a friend that's been in that situation. So that is my content warning. It is an unsolved case, and as with all the podcasts that I record, the intention is to share the information as factually as I can, and it's from the sources that I have found on the internet or I've read about in a book, and therefore it's not meant to upset or offend anybody who may have a link to the person that we talk about. It's just for information purposes and educational purposes only. So as I said, the case I am looking at is of a young boy called Daniel Entwistle, and he was just 7 years old. And as part of what I've done today, I've also gone to the area that he was last seen and took the walk that they believe that he took, and I filmed that just so that you would be able to see the distance and how long it would have taken and the area and things like that. And I just thought it would be a different way to be able to do things. And I also took a second recording of the other side of the area that we're looking at, as close as I could. I had hoped to have got a bit closer, but unfortunately I wasn't able to, but you'll hear all about that in my quick recordings that I did. So on Saturday the 3rd of May, Daniel was captured on CCTV in his local shop just round the corner from where he lived, which is where he'd gone to get some milk, I think it was, for his mum, and he goes and he gets home and he takes that home and he leaves it with her. He's then said to have been sort of messing about with his brother, who's slightly older than him, and then he then takes himself off out again on his red BMX bike. His mum suffered with epilepsy and was feeling unwell, so she actually took a nap, and around 7:15 in the evening, Paula, his mum, realises that he hasn't actually come home, and within that hour she actually calls the police. And as they're starting to kind of go out and look for Daniel, they start talking to people, and there was a couple of people that had said that they'd seen Daniel sort of around on the estate. But Norfolk police, obviously, because he's only 7, he's very young, and it's a seaside resort, it's May Bank holiday, they go straight into a full-scale search of the area. And, where he is, there's kind of both sides of, where he lives. If you look at the map on, that I've shown in my podcast, you will see that there is the beach on one side, which is obviously open water, and then on the other side, which is where they found his bike, is the Riviera. And so all around the town there is water, so obviously for someone who is 7, that's quite a concern, especially young boys. They like to adventure off and go do things they shouldn't. I mean, I can remember, I used to live near the water myself, and I used to love going and messing about and doing stuff, and probably looking back I probably shouldn't have. I'm surprised I didn't get into more trouble, but that was the era that we were growing up in, and he's a little boy, and boys are adventurous. So by the next day, on Sunday, May the 4th, Daniel still hasn't come home, so obviously the scale of the search continues. They've got the helicopters, the sniffer dogs, they even get divers that become involved, and the community rallies around and is giving out information and flyers with his beautiful little face on, because he was a beautiful little boy, and obviously because he's 7, we do know that the longer a child is missing, the more concern it is, and the less likely it is that they are going to be found safe and well. And so as the search continues into the next day, on Sunday the 4th, they do find Daniel's red and white bike, and concerningly it is found by the river, and there's like a main road, and then off each of these buildings, because it's quite industrialised, it's kind of little passageways, and he'd obviously gone up one of these passageways, and the bike was left found there, which is obviously really concerning. And so they continue the search throughout of the whole of Sunday, and by 4 p.m. on that day, they then get Daniel's mum Paula to make a plea, an emotional plea, to help find Daniel, and to let as they do when they make these pleas, they'll often say, "You're not in any trouble, please come home," and hopefully, if he is somewhere that he's seeing this and he's scared to come home, or somebody's seen him or knows where he might be, they can, it's just what they need to do to get that information out around the community and further out, because as we know, when I did the case with Leonie Keating, Leonie was taken from the Great Yarmouth area, but she ended up nearly 50 miles away from where she was taken from. So obviously that then gets the search out beyond the area that he's gone missing from and where he actually lives. And so, they're looking for him. They're still going around with the flyers. They're talking to his friends. They're doing everything that they can to find him. But bearing in mind, they have found his bike at the edge of the river. And that's why they bring in the divers. Because obviously they need to start searching the riverbeds. They've got the dogs out. Everything has gone in to try and find this little boy. And by Monday, which is May the 5th, they still haven't found him. So they have got the Great Yarmouth Coast Guard. Like I said, they're scouring the river. They've got their boats, they've got a hovercraft, and by 3:30 on that day, the police actually then release the CCTV pictures of him in the shop. So, if anybody has seen him, from when he was in the shop, it's just every little thing that they can give out in the media is something that can help trigger someone's memory. It may be something that somebody may have seen him on the day that he went missing, but it was the bank holiday weekend and they may not have seen they may not have been watching the TV or paid much attention to the news or anything like that. So a couple of days that he's been missing, they then get those pictures out, because every little bit, like I said, it'll trigger someone's memory. And if they hadn't seen that he had gone missing before now, then that it could reach them. And as we know with Leonie Keating, the one that the podcast I did of the little girl who was on holiday in Great Yarmouth, she was taken from the caravan park, and she was taken 50 miles away from where she was staying. Now, by doing this and by putting these things out in the media, it'll trigger people's memories from, had they seen him on the Saturday, but because they hadn't perhaps seen the news, they hadn't realised, or perhaps they had seen him in the shop and that kind of thing. And it then gets the information out further than from where he lives and further from where he went missing. Because, if he was taken, because there's always a chance that he was taken, people outside of the Great Yarmouth area will be able to look out for him. They know who they're looking for. They know what he looks like. So obviously there's information that the police will always hold within, because they don't want the public to have that. And they do that for various reasons, because sometimes if they get a suspect, sometimes the suspect will tell them more than what they've actually told the public. So, but his pictures are really important and they are really key, because obviously he is young, and as we know, like I said earlier, the longer they're out there, the less chances they have of coming back alive, safe and well. So there is a reason why they are kind of doing these things. And there's a couple of people that had said that they had seen him, but they were all like unconfirmed sightings of him. So the police, just their mission was to try and get his face out there and find him safe and well and get him home. On Tuesday the 6th of May, so bearing in mind he had been missing since the 3rd, so we're now entering into another day. The detective that was running the investigation and the hunt on looking for Daniel did say that he was still optimistic that they would find him alive and well. And they were following all the lines of inquiries with the sightings that people had said that they had, seen of him. So if you look at the map that is just above, you can see the trip that he took. The trip that they thought he took because of where they found his bike. So you can see that where his house is, that he'd gone round to that shop, been and got the goods from there, took them home. And then from his home, he brings himself down that road, and then you can see like by the river there, you can see where the bike was found, so you can see the distance that it took him to get there. Now, bearing in mind he was only 7, so as you can see from the map there that we have pulled up, you can see there's the Greenacre School, which is the school that he attended. You can see the seafront, which is where the beach is. You can see the shop that they've circled there. I mean, you can't literally see them, but you can see where they're marked. And then just around the corner, you can see where his home was marked. And then right down by the river, you can see where they've circled that his bike had been found, and you can see that's quite a big distance. I know he had his bike, and I'm going to show you now the distance that it took me. So I went and I took my car and I parked just by the school there, and I walked the route that he would have taken, or they think he took, on his bike. And you will be able to see how long it was. Now, for me, I was on foot. It was quite a hot day that day as well. But then I think he was only 7. So was that really quite far? I mean, is it somewhere that he used to go play regularly? It'd be interesting to see what your thoughts are on the distance that it took him from leaving that shop. And I took it from the shop because I didn't want to be setting off and looking a bit odd around where people's houses were. So I took it from the shop all the way round to the site, and then I had to film the other side of the river just so you can get an idea of what that looks like and how the tide, you can see the tide in the footage that I have, because I couldn't get to the bit where he was. I think obviously since this happened, you can see that they've kind of like they've put gates and things so only people that work in the area or part of the industrial estate can have access beyond that to where the river is. See where he was last seen and where his bike was found. So it's quite a distance by when you're short like me with fibromyalgia. I'm trying to walk with a bit of pace as well, but you can see it's an area that's a family area, like it's like the council estate, which houses obviously families. And there are a lot of children around here, and actually it must be I would be quite nervous living here, to be fair, if I had young children. So let's just I may have to edit that small bit out. Don't want to be showing children that aren't mine on the video. So I don't know how far I'm going to get, but I'm going to give it a good go. So what I'm going to do, that's a point of reference, which you'll see on the map when I show it to you. And then a little bit of shade. Hopefully it's not too jumpy. I can't see the screen very well because the sun is too bright. It's so warm today. It's my exercise for today, guys. So as you can see, it's quite a long way to come. He was only 7 when he went missing.
So, today, to be fair, I'd say today, kids of today, they wouldn't have done this walk. I don't think they would bother. Because kids, they have to go more than 5 doors past their house and their gadgets. They generally don't want to. You can see it's a long way by foot. He would have got there in half the time on a bike. Plus he was young and sprightly. It's quite built up. It's quite industrial. The further down we get and the closer to the river, you can see it's very industrial. It's whether or not I can get down these alleyways. If I can't, I'll have to pull over, go back to the car and then see if I can get in anywhere. So you can just see what it looks like on the quay. Someone's left their coat. So it looks like we came down this way a little bit. We didn't go straight across. So again, we are still industrial. I don't know. I will do my best, guys. If I can't, I will try somehow get you over there. But they did say that it was an alleyway, so I'm going to go maybe as far as that garage, because as you can see over there, that is where the river is. But it's built up and there's like factories and businesses there, and it's really difficult to go on there if it's property, which is a pain. But I don't think it was that far down. But we'll give it a go. We'll go to the garage and we will see. So when you realise how much the cost of fuel is when you see it at £1.87. Might be a bit more down here actually. Got a random place to have a garage, to be fair, but maybe not with all the lorries and stuff. See, I don't know whether or not he went off on the properties. See, again, this is a property, so am I going to get in there? I don't think so. Let's see where this little road takes, and if not, I will find a spot along the quay where we can get as close as we can. But I just wanted to come down here because I just thought it'd be a bit different. You can see the journey he took. I mean, for a 7-year-old, is this a long way? Don't know. I feel like it is a long way. But things are different, aren't they, these days? I don't know. Let me just... I don't know if I can get up there. I don't know. See, now that's got a fence on there, but I don't think that was there before, so I don't think that's the one. I might struggle here. Let me see where this road goes. If not, I will figure something out, because that's the kind of person I am. I like to see what I can do. It's kind of part of the garage, isn't it? If not, I'll put the phone down, go back to my car and find somewhere. Let's see where this road. So this is a road, and there's a car there. There's just no way I think I can get up there, but I might be able to zoom in a little bit, maybe. I'm kind of determined to get up there, to be fair. See, there's all fencing now. So it could be this spot, but I don't think it is. I think it's the one before. So maybe it's took me 10 minutes to get here. Maybe him on his bike is 5 minutes. Depends how fast he cycled. So if this last corner here isn't accessible, then I will take myself down, because I don't know where he went, whether he was allowed on there or not. So he might have been on property, I don't know. So let me just see where we get to. Sorry, I didn't mean to burst into song. Sorry. So there's no parking. No parking, and people are parking. Ooh. Yeah, like you've got no chance. It's all like, so this is probably the best I'm going to get. So yeah, let me see if I can pull up somewhere. Hi everyone. Right, I couldn't get near the water on the other side of the bridge, and it's very difficult to get to it this side also, so you can see what it looks like from the point where he went missing. But I've come as far down as I can, and it will just give you an idea, because it's pretty much the same along here. They're doing road work, so most of it's all blocked off. So yeah, as you can see, the tide is really, really strong, when the currents get going. It's obviously very chippy choppy out there, and it looks like to be as though it's heading out to sea, because if you go right where I'm standing, that takes you out to sea. So over on the other side, it might be windy too. Over on the other side there, you can see the wall and you can see the rock, and that's the same all the way down. He was found way further down there, and it's not possible to get there, near those buildings down there. I've done the best I can, and so they had the divers come in here and search the riverbed. They didn't find him, that was really sad, and he is presumed missing. He is actually a cold case, and I was reading the other day that they hadn't actually closed the file, and they're actually working on like cold cases to bring them back to life. But he's presumed to have fallen in because his bike was left down the edge there. Now when he went missing, I'd not long had my little boy. He was a baby, and I can remember driving down here on the way home, and because there's no like wall here, I always used to look down like when he was missing, in case he was washed up, because as you can see here, that would be a possibility that he could get washed up here, just down there and down there, because there's no seat defences or anything. So that's what you're looking at, for him to have gone. And if he'd fallen in there,
especially if the current was like this at the time, and he was tiny. He wouldn't have stood a chance. And also, further down there is where the sewerage gets leaked into the river. It's disgusting, I know. And you know, if you've got any of that inside you, you're going to be really poorly if you had managed to get out. Not that that has any bearing on what happened, because obviously if he has fallen in here, and I say has because you just never know, it's presumed he is in here. He will have been washed out if he's gone out into the sea. He never, there was never any body found further down on the beach or anything, which where there has been people gone missing before, they have gone in and they have washed up on our beaches. So it would have been possible that he could have been washed up if it had fallen in. So again, it's just we go with that he fell in. As you see, it's quite a drop as well, depending on how high the tide is. It's quite a little drop, and he was only 7, so yeah, that was the best I could do. It gives you an idea, and I hope it kind of gives you that idea of, it was helpful to kind of picture, what he would have been facing had he fallen in. I hope that, that it's helpful, and where, whatever has happened, wherever he is, whatever his outcome,
So this is just an image that I managed to find of the wall. So when I went near that area, there was no access to any of this, and as you can see, there isn't even really a wall there. That was where his bike was found, and you can see the drop into the river there, and that's where they found his bike. And obviously that's really concerning. His bike is there, he isn't, and he's not been seen. Nobody's seen him. Where has he gone? And it's just, how does someone just disappear like that? If they haven't gone into the river, where have they gone? I mean, when people commit crimes, most people do tend to get found or found out. There's usually an end. I mean, not to all cases, obviously, but they dragged that river. They had the divers in there. There was nothing that they didn't find anything, but the tide is quite strong and it moves quite quickly. But I believe they went into the river pretty much, as soon as, because it's there's water everywhere. So during this investigation, the police received 2,500 lines of inquiries. Now, obviously, not all of those inquiries are going to lead to anything at all, but they have to follow the lines of inquiry. The police were said to have taken 580 statements from people, and from the information on the website, from Norfolk Constabulary, they were still conducting searches and, still talking about him. According to the Norfolk Constabulary website, 6 years down the line, they are still doing searches. Every bit of information that they receive, they are looking into that, and are still looking into that. It's not closed, it's just unsolved, and they've got a review manager for people to contact if they have any information to share with them, and an email address, which actually I am going to share on here, because if anyone does have any information, you can email the case review manager, Andy Guy. Any little bit of information that could help is always useful. So I will absolutely be putting that in my description, so if in case anybody does happen to have any information that sees this, but I'm happy that it's not closed, that it's it's unsolved, and that they will look into information. And on the anniversaries they would put out his information again. There was information on the 10th anniversary of when he disappeared, for people's please, and if they'd seen anything, please say something, come to them, because you just never know. But if something triggers something later down the line, or someone was scared to say something, and then they see the the anniversary postings, and it was good because they've done that, and you just kept the case, even though it had sort of gone cold, it just brought the case back out into the public eyes, so that you could get those eyes back out there, and just try and jog memories and see if there is any fresh information out there to be had. And he will have grown into a teenager as well. It's heartbreaking for his family. Like, he's been missing all of that time. He's missed Christmas, he's missed his birthdays, he had friends, and he was much loved within his family and his friends. And like with every investigation, there were rumours that went round that had said that he'd been abducted. They hadn't ruled that out, and obviously they haven't ruled that out because they've kept the case open. They haven't just gone, oh well, he's definitely 100% fell into the river and the case is closed. They had left that line of inquiry open, that there is that potential that he could have been abducted, and that is another good reason as to why that they did get his information out and share it on his anniversary, because you just never know whose memory that may well jog. And so they did look at known paedophiles within the area, because you just never know. And there'd been all sorts of things that had been said, and if somebody's saying something, then I'm guessing that they would have to look into that. It's just so devastating that it got cold so quickly, but obviously they'd never given up hope of finding him, and they had moved from a different area, but and I think Daniel must have grown up a little bit from where he came from initially, and they'd only been here for 3 years. So even though they hadn't been here that long, they'd been here long enough for Daniel to know the area, and so it's one of the things that people take into account when they're looking at everything. Where did they come from? How long have they lived there? How often does he go out? Do they know where he likes to go and play? Who are his friends? What have his friends got to say, like, about where they play? Because they will be able to give the police and whoever information about his, what his likely footsteps, his trail would be if they were people that played with him. And as we know, to this day, there hasn't been a trace of him, and he has never been found. But as I said, the case isn't closed, and Norfolk Constabulary are actually doing work on some of the cases that have gone cold to try and bring them out into the media, and I believe this is going to be one of those cases. So I will be looking forward to seeing if that is the case, because we don't know if he went in that river. It's probably likely that he did go into the river, but we don't know that 100%. and the police haven't said, well, that's, the case is closed, that's the only place he could have gone. They've left that line open, so I will be interested to see if his little face pops up again and I start seeing him on the internet, and that his face is out there again. If I do get any information, I'll share that with you. I will be keeping my eye open, and I think there's quite a few cold cases, and I might actually go into some of them and have a little look, because I think these cases don't get the press they deserve. Like, he was just a little boy from a local seaside town, he went missing, they did all the initial stuff, now it's gone cold. Yes, they've brought it up a few times since he's gone missing and on his 10th anniversary, and Daniel was described as a really nice little boy. Nobody had a bad word to say about him at all. His teachers said all nice things about him, and it's just tragic. It is tragic, and I don't know, the toll that this must take on people when their children go missing. And we know, sort of up to date to today, that Daniel's mum actually went back to up north Lancashire, where they came from, and Daniel's dad actually stayed in the Suffolk area, so that's not too far from here. But they separated, and I believe from what I've seen online, there had been tension with the couple. There was all sorts of different things going on within their marriage, and tragically today we know that Daniel's dad has passed away, and he is thought to have had a drinking problem, and so that is what they think he passed away from. We don't know 100%, but there was anything suspicious was ruled out there. But there's a lot of things that's gone on in his life, and it's not a surprise that he would perhaps turn to drink. He's lost his son, he's lost his marriage, and then his ex-wife has moved back to Lancashire, where they came from. And this is just a sad situation for everybody. But I found out as well, sort of going through information, that his dad was actually convicted of having sex with a 12-year-old girl, and that was, I think, after this all came out after Daniel went missing, because they've said that their marriage ended soon after the police told her of that conviction early in the search, but they were told they weren't allowed to say anything. So that was obviously something that he'd kept from them, which is really scary, because obviously when they were looking through the sex offenders register, obviously his dad's name will have come up, and it's not something that he's going to volunteer willingly to his partners. It is scary that these things can happen, but he was never made a suspect in this case. And so, as I said, she's gone back to where they originally moved down from. He has passed away, but there still has been no sightings of Daniel. So I am going to end this here, because there isn't really much more information on this, just obviously that he was missing and he has never been found, and I've put all the bits of information in here. I've put his CCTV video footage in here. And just to close this off as well, I did read something about, what the scenario would be if he had been abducted. So I'm just going to read those out to you now. So, if you ever think that you see a missing child, any missing child, or even if you think you potentially have seen Daniel in the past, these are the things to look out for. So, he would be known by a different name, but he could still have his first name. He is either living as the son or an other relative. He might give his birthday, or they might give their birthdays, being on near his actual birthday, which his birthday was the 28th of July. His apparent freedom to come and go as he pleases, whilst remaining under the complete control of the person who's got him. He could well be enrolled in a school, or could have been enrolled in a school, or any missing child could be enrolled in a school with false documentation, or he doesn't even go to school, so he could be homeschooled. He or she, if anyone's gone missing, may be being sexually abused by the person that's got them but hasn't said anything. They will lie and not want to talk about their family history, or they may not know. It just depends when they went missing and their memory. He'll have some kind of an online presence, or anyone who's missing may have an online presence, and they might even make a plea online. But you know, these are the things you can look out for. You know, he was such a tiny little boy. He was 3'2" when he went missing, and as you saw in the CCTV, he was wearing his blue top. But these are just some of the information, you know, for anybody that may go missing, to look out for if you're you know, working with children, or you start working with children. Just little things like this can build up. You know, so just bear those things in mind. It's handy to know that, especially if something doesn't feel right. So hopefully, you know, this gets Daniel's story out there for, you know, a bit longer, and I'm going to close off with his beautiful little face and play him some music, and I hope that everybody found this interesting, and all our thoughts go to Daniel's family and his friends.